Evening, everyone, and welcome to Gathering. Thank you so much for being here this evening. Sorry I'm a wee bit late. I think we're maybe about just a couple of minutes after, but everything sounds quite quiet with the girls, so hopefully we can just enjoy this time and connect over our week. So I thought this evening that I would quite like to talk about healing and my own healing journey. And I've been, I guess, on this path for a long time now. Probably seriously for about 4 years since Robin was born. And I think just being pregnant and then being so drained and tired after that, I realised I had to get really quite conscientious about how I felt in my body. So I guess that's really, I've always been aware of wanting to lead this sort of wholesome and healthy life, but I've not always done that. And I'd say that this is probably the first time really in my life that I've managed to create that sort of rhythm and those rituals that really anchor me in and keep me on track on the days where it feels challenging and it feels like a struggle. And the easier thing is to just, I guess, bow out and give up. Like I've done that for so long, and I think I just got to a point where the balance tipped, and I wanted to experience myself differently. I wanted to know that all these things that I was sort of hungry for and did feel very drawn to weren't wasted on me. And I think that can be such a common feeling, not just with women, but with everybody, where we feel we're kind of somehow neglecting our potential or not quite fully living out our experience. So I'm guessing that you're probably somewhere on that journey, coming into the awareness of who you want to be, or maybe allowing yourself to actually finally connect to that in a meaningful way and actually find ways to really make it happen in your life. And I guess I've done that mainly through meditation. That's become the consistent thing that seems to have opened up all the other channels of my life that for so long felt kind of blocked, or it just felt like I couldn't quite gain access to it. I think for so long I would watch other people and admire how they were living, and feel so aligned with them in many ways, but it was always just theory for me, and it was all talk. Very little of it was manifesting authentically in my life, and it's just come so slowly and steadily, and I've just learned so much about the power of deeply, deeply coming to terms with where we are in our lives, and to be with that, and to be with ourselves in that, and to acknowledge the struggle and the fight and the pain and the amount of effort that it feels like it's taking to upsurge all these things that seem to always keep us confined. So I use meditation as the tool to really ground me and root me in and help me maintain the perspective that I need in order to stay really engaged with my life purpose, what I really want to be in this life, and not in any lavish materialistic ways, just the small and the significant things that really do make a life. And I don't want to miss those things. I don't want them to go unnoticed. I want to be able to appreciate what's before me, and for that to be the stuff that fuels my continuing efforts to live in this body and live in this moment. and to constantly keep tapping into that, to be listening, to be having a real keen ear for how we're feeling and how things land with us. And I guess it's become a bit of a passion and a bit of a fixation for me to always have that somehow in my awareness. And really, I think for so long, early into the practice of meditation, this idea of healing came up so powerfully, because I knew that I was going to have to do a serious amount of work to even get to the point where I was managing the resistance that was coming up in me. And I hear it so often when women talk about knowing what they need for themselves, and really sensing deeply what it's probably going to take to get it. And that's when the struggle comes in, and that's when the healing is just so ripe, and it's so available to us just to sink into. And I think for me, I've started to view healing as something that I can just lean into, rather than something that takes a lot of energy. And that's a refreshing concept, I guess, because I think we all can feel really overwhelmed by what it might take to feel on an even keel, and what it might take to strive for what we really, really want to feel. Because sometimes we're just so used to feeling a particular way that it's difficult to imagine that it doesn't have to be that way. And I think in my the course Connecting with the Song, I do look at that a bit, how we view ourselves, how we speak about ourselves, the story we tell ourselves about who we are. And it's really crucially important that we come to the awareness and the acceptance that we get to choose, and that we have creative control. And I know that can seem like such a burden, actually, because it's all about us and the responsibilities with us. But it also gives us that freedom to choose, and to keep on choosing, even in the moments where we think we're getting it wrong, or we're letting ourselves down, or we're not reaching our own ideas of what we think we should be achieving. That we can continue to keep choosing the healing journey. And I think that's what I'm on, is this healing journey. And I'll probably never be off it, because I think in life we're never far from a challenge or a situation that triggers us, or brings up things that we need to revisit, or have to work more deeply to resolve. So this idea of healing for me has just become so vast, and has really begun as I've gained in confidence and found my feet a bit more. And I think I've been able to look at all the things in my life that weren't working and that aren't working, and to just bit by bit and piece by piece look at each of those things and give them my full attention, and bring my energy to them, so that I can use what's in me now to free up the way to open up a possibility for something different. And I think for such a long time, that was all I was actually trying to give myself, was this horizon that actually, no, it doesn't have to be this way, and that I don't have to strive for it to be different. I just need to allow the possibility in that I am capable of being different, and that we all do, that we just have this infinite capacity to regenerate ourselves and to redefine ourselves and to shed all the things that burden us or that drain us of the energy that we could otherwise have. And I guess that life as it is right now can just feel like one big rabbit hole of gloom, and it's just so difficult when we look out rather than look in. And I really feel that unless we're looking in more than we're looking out, the balance will always be off, because inevitably we have to face the world, and we have to absorb a certain amount of that energy, and we have to be able to be in the flow of life. But there's just so much more enjoyment that we can have of that when we have taken the time for ourselves. And I think that's what meditation is. It's about recalibrating and just coming back to ourselves. And, you know, meditation doesn't have to be fancy, and it doesn't have to be long and intense or arduous. We can do those things. And I think you'll probably realize when you gain momentum in your meditation that there's just nothing lovelier than sitting for 20 minutes or half an hour or an hour even. I don't get to do that often, but you know, that is decadence to me. I don't need anything else. It just gives me so much to be able to sit for 20 minutes, which I actually did do today. Is just wow, it just gets better and better. And it doesn't mean that it stops being challenging, because of course we all have resistance, and we all have walls to break down, and sometimes they just build themselves back up when we're not looking. And that's what meditation is so wonderful for, because we never take our eye off ourselves for too long. And even when our practice does sort of slide a bit, and that does happen, when it does slide, hopefully you've been doing it consistently enough to really notice how palpably different it feels when we don't have that element to our day. So why don't we do our meditation now? I know we're probably sort of midway through. There's just so much that I'm energized by when I think about healing, and when I think about how we can heal together, and how we can lovingly sort of support one another in our healing, because we all have such different things to heal in our lives. And it's lovely to feel that collaborative sort of energy when we're aware of the fact that we're not the only ones who are trying to confront ourselves. And sometimes it can feel like we're surrounded by people who don't look at themselves, or who can't look at themselves, and yet we still have to accommodate these people, and in many ways endure the impact of these people. But we do get to decide how we move into life, and how we cultivate the space around us, and what we populate it with, who we predominantly surround ourselves with, and where we choose to put our energy, so that we can always in some way be able to control the flow and of energy that's coming towards us, and the energy that we're sort of giving back. And I think we all kind of know the people that we can instantly just feel so invigorated by, and who just seem to give us something. Whether that's a sort of peaceful sense of just okayness, we feel a bit more shored up in their company, or there's a sense of warmth or just this life-giving nature to them, and it's so, I mean, I could personally just devour that up. I live for women especially who just have that energy and that charisma, and know without doing that their presence is just the most potent thing that they've got. And so I hope that we can all be that for one another, because inevitably we're all going to need it, you know, more or less as our lives sort of undulate, and we all have these pivotal moments where we desperately need to confront ourselves and heal, when something really big is happening in our lives. But just in the general maintenance of our day to day, it's also so important just to sort of weed the garden. That's how I like to see it. I sort of picture my life like a garden that's constantly in full bloom but ever changing, and it sort of, it welcomes the seasons, and it can bend and flow, but ultimately I bring into my awareness the ability that I can set the flow of my life and I can set the tone, and I do that by remaining really switched on to how I'm feeling. And when I'm not feeling good, that's when it's time for me to do a bit of weeding. And it's often sort of, people say of meditation that it's like taking out the garbage of your subconscious mind. So, you know, if you do that every day, you're sort of cleansing yourself in some way, and that's a nice, well, it's not a nice visual aid, but it does sort of help us contextualize what it is we're actually doing when we meditate, and why it's so very nourishing and healing. And sometimes it is hard to get past this idea that you can sit down and just breathe, and that it's doing something so beneficial for you. And I know we've got the evidence, and it's all there for us to believe in, but sometimes it can be hard when it comes to us personally, because for me anyway, I think I was so stuck in this sense of it's different for me. And I think I really believed that for a long time, that, you know, other people could transform and other people had capabilities beyond mine, and that whole self-defeating track that we can get on. And I think as women we get on it so willingly, because we really do live our lives from our heart center. It's where we're moved from, and our feelings and our thoughts are very convincing to us. And over time, if we've believed them for long enough, it's really, really hard to find another way to feel. So yeah, there's so much to take in on the subject of healing, and it's such an unstoppable force once you're harnessing it. You know, for me personally, I started just minutely, like I knew I wanted to meditate, and I took a course in that, and learned meditation, transcendental meditation. And I just did that, and I did it solidly for about a year. And gradually I could just feel myself more capable in the things that I'd felt incredibly defeated by. And it was subtle and slow, and still felt very much like, you know, there weren't any epiphanies is the thing. There were no epiphanies. There was no, you know, there was no like massive awakenings or anything. But I think that's why I love it so much, because it's just, it's so routine, and it can go by so unnoticed, and before you know it, so much has actually changed that you can't quite believe it, and it kind of slips in through the back door, and that's really how meditation has shown up in my life. I've just suddenly became able to do the things that before seemed like, oh, I have to do this to try and feel better. Whether it was taking the time to make a meal without groaning about it, or just bringing mindfulness into my life, and not that contrived sort of try hard way, but just instantaneously and very spontaneously inspired to just take right action, to just do the right thing at that particular time. And I just feel like I have more of these converging moments where suddenly my energy feels aligned enough with my purpose that I can just stand at that crossroads and still have either road to go down, and for whatever reason I am now capable of just going this way, and it is just the slightest shift and the tiniest change in perspective, and inching towards a different feeling, and it's that insignificant in a sense, but it's just so potent and so powerful when we grasp for it and we actually do let it draw us toward it. And I do this near enough all the time. I really do. Like I was visiting my granddad in hospital yesterday, and I felt so tired. I knew my period was coming, and it had just been an intense week. Lots going on. It was coming to the end of my course at university and stuff like that, and I had eaten, but I hadn't eaten enough, and I was feeling that I just wanted chocolate, and I knew my period was coming. I know what happens when I want chocolate at that time of the month. That's Neil home. So I came home. My sister brought me back from the hospital, and I stood and made this meal for myself. Everybody else had eaten, and that for me is my declaration to myself that yes, I'm still showing up for myself, even when I'm tired, even when I've got the option not to, even when I could really legitimately find an excuse and let myself off the hook. It just doesn't seem that way anymore. It's not how I do things. And sure, like, I'm not like this 100% of the time. It's not like that. It's not about perfection. It's just about, for every time that I do it, the feeling is far, far superior to what eating the chocolate would have been, which I know would have been good as well. But yeah, so I made this salad for myself, this sort of warm chicken salad, and it's just somehow summoning the energy just to go down that path. And sometimes it has a snowball effect, and I find myself on a roll for days or weeks, and then sometimes I'm right back into low mood, and I'm struggling to find the energy, and I'm just trucking through. So that's the nature of life, I guess. But what I've got here actually is called a dirty hot chocolate. But it's almond milk with that raw cacao powder, maca powder, some cinnamon, and a little bit of honey. And this is a really good mood booster, but it's also a really good hormone balancer. And so I was craving this a couple of days ago, so that's how I knew. I always have a craving around on the lead up to my period, so that was that. So it's even just little things like this, making something that I know is nourishing to me. Even if I do go and eat, like have a bar of chocolate or whatever, I'm not militaristic with my food, but that has definitely been a huge part of my healing journey, is the food I eat. Absolutely. I have had this skin condition since I was 15, and I finally it came to the point where I actually had to treat it naturally, because I decided to come off all the chemicals that I'd been using, the medicated shampoo, and I've been making my own makeup and skincare since the beginning of the year. So it actually meant that I couldn't use this shampoo anymore that had sort of been keeping the problem at bay. And like I say, I've been treating it that way since I was 15, and it was so severe. It was psoriasis that I had, so it would be so painful. It would itch, and then it would get really, really raw, and it was just so painful. So it wasn't something I suffered for long, because just I always treated it, and it was fine. You would never know, but once I stopped using the medicated shampoo, it took a couple of months to really flare back up. And then once it gets to that point, you can't, or I had never been able to get it to calm back down. So this last month has been so intense, and has been such a challenge to my discipline with myself, and this idea of healing massively came in to play. And how was I going to stay with myself when all I wanted to do was scratch my head, reach for the medicated shampoo, and just go back to what I knew kind of had worked. But I didn't. I found this book, a doctor who said that, did have this sort of regime for healing it naturally. And yeah, it's been solid commitment. Just really cleaning up my diet, getting rid of all the foods that really exacerbate the problem, which was quite a challenge, because those things mainly are white potatoes, tomatoes, peppers, the stuff that I probably eat a lot of and regularly. So I've seen sort of a steady improvement, but within the last couple of days, it's just suddenly like no psoriasis on my head, and I'm almost scared to say that out loud, because I can't quite believe it. And I was doing so much, and part of his method is about right thinking and right feeling, and about how what we believe about our conditions or our illnesses has a lot to do with how we heal from them. And that was something that I was doing. He gave a sort of visualization that you had to do as well. So there's been so many elements to this, and so many layers to the healing, which actually comes back to everything that I'm talking about when it comes to healing. It's not ever, it's so multi-layered, and there's so much to it. And it's, I think, because recovering from something has so many stages. Obviously the healing aspect really does too, and we wouldn't have become so out of balance without it taking a fair bit to get us back in balance. So I've been really, I guess I'm not surprised, because I really do believe that we can heal with taking care of our mind and our body, and that's putting it very simply. And I know now that, hopefully now that I'm on this path and that I've managed to heal so well physically from this, that I can really help other people with it. So that's one really lovely thing that comes from healing yourself. It really allows you to be able to have that connection with other people, because you really can speak from a place not of authority but of conviction. I know now that this works, and I know because I've been a guinea pig I've done it for myself. So that is the most compelling evidence you're ever going to have about your life, or about the things that you advocate for. is, are you doing them? And can you speak to other people from a place that can show them the way? And I think that's really what makes me show up, I guess, for this every Friday. There always seems to be something that makes me feel like I can't do it, or that I'm not prepared enough, or that I'm too tired, or that the day's been too long. I do still fight. I do still fight with those thoughts that come up that tell me, oh, maybe you could not do it live, maybe you could just record it this time. But I let myself have those feelings, and I let myself have what I think I need. But inevitably, I always still do show up, and I think that's one of the major things that is different about me now, is that I do show up in my life. And I shared that with my group in university when we were doing our ending in the group, and that was my sincere feeling, and that's what I was thanking them for, all the people that were in that group with me, was that I, for some reason, felt safe enough to finally just be as I was. And it felt really significant to me that these people were the people who had witnessed me the way I had always wanted to be. And there was so much to that, because it was in an academic setting, and so I was pushing through old paradigms with my feelings about what I could achieve academically and how I could show up for myself in that sort of environment, because historically I'd always struggled with that. But it was just amazing to genuinely be able to thank people for just witnessing me and holding my presence, and for feeling that that was important to them as well. And I think that's what we need to remind ourselves of whenever we start to struggle with our own journey and what we're trying to create in our own lives. When the self-doubt comes in, it's really so important to just actually remember that our presence is so impactful, and it always makes a difference. And I genuinely feel that that's where my work is. I call it the intimate and the ultimate work of our lives, and I really do believe that. There is something so incredibly intimate and vulnerable about it, and so internal. Internally intimate, but also it has to be intimate with the other people that we connect with in order for it to be meaningful and authentic and powerful to the other person. For them to really be able to see us, and there's something so incredibly intimate about that. But that it's the most meaningful thing for me anyway that I can do with my life, and it's just the absolute ultimate thing that I can do with my life. When I thought about how else can I be in this life? What else do I have to offer? There's a lot, but none of it comes without my presence. And so my work is always going to be on me first, and then fingers crossed I get to really enrich the lives of other people, and to be in that with other people, as we all sort of co-create, as we all do that for ourselves and for one another. And I think that's what this circle for me is all about, is to just really have that sense of coming together. I think probably in my university work, where we did a lot of sitting in circle, we always had to sit in a circle, and we always had to do our personal work in front of a circle of people, and within a circle of people, and there is something very arresting about that. You can't get away from it, and you in a circle you make eye contact with everyone, or at least you can, You're not staring at the back of anyone's head, so there is something really intimate about that. And it's a lovely thing. It's a lovely thing once you can either get past the discomfort or be able to genuinely sit in the discomfort and still be there, and not run away from it. So covering my face in chocolate. There was a little bit here from Circle of Stones, this book that I really recommend. And she says, it's just a really short wee bit. How might your life have been different if, as a young woman, there had been a place for you? A place where you could go to be with women. A place where you could be received as you strove to order your moments and your days. A place where you could learn a quiet centeredness to help ground yourself in daily patterns that would nurture you through their gentle rhythms. A place where, in stillness at the ending of a task, you could feel an ancient presence flowing out to sustain you, and you learned how to receive and how to sustain it in return. How might your life be different? And I just love everything about that. It goes back to what I was saying about when I'm at that fork in the road, and I know that I could surrender to the part of me that wants to just not have to bother. And then this other desire comes in that wants me to keep up and wants me to stay with myself and is really urging me to do that. And I think that's what it is, this ancient presence that somehow rises up and reminds us of what we're ultimately trying to do and what we're ultimately here for. And yes, probably for most of us, we have spent the majority of our moments not doing that, and not even being aware that we had to do that, or that it would be better for us if we did do that. And we sort of learn it all retrospectively, and then we have to somehow find what it is we lost in order to be where we are. At that point where we're quite struggling and we're quite clueless about how to navigate the way back toward ourselves. So yeah, I could talk about the healing stuff forever. I've got so many things that I do nutritionally that I feel are very healing and nourishing for me. And also, there's the meditation, which is it's mind, body, spirit. That's like the whole thing. Like if I can't do anything else, I always do that. And I just make sure that I keep up with my rituals that really incentivize me to keep going. And I think they're touchstones for my day. If I've not done my neti pot, which is something I do, which is sort of it's just something that yogis do, and that's not why I did it, but it just helps give you a really lovely clear head. And but that's one of the things that I do in the morning. And if I've not done that, it seems to shift everything else out. And it's amazing just how supportive these daily rituals can be. And I guess that's what this whole quote is talking about. How might your life have been different? So if you had these rituals, these daily patterns that nurture you through the gentle rhythms, that's just such a powerful thing. And it's something that I really want to impress upon my daughters. I really hope that they'll have that, because I think it does sustain you through life. So I hope that you've maybe just in listening, you've come to hear a bit more clearly where it is you need to heal in your life, or the things that keep coming up for you that you feel that you would really love to dissolve and to work through and move through. And yeah, I guess we all have stuff that we're working on. And so I'm really wishing you, strength for that path that you're on. I think I'd written down a lovely wee quote, and on the subject of paths, I read this lovely quote, and it's about I don't know if you've heard of anything called a medicine walk, but it's literally just a shamanic or fancy way of saying a walk in nature. But it's called Wild Woman Medicine, and it says, upon occasion, all wild women should take their own medicine walk to an inspirational place in nature, to be inspired, focused, to heal, to realign self and spirituality, and to gently place our feet on the path we are meant to travel. And I think that's a nice place to end, really. I think we all know where we'd like to sink our feet and where we would like to feel that we're genuinely in our element, and that we feel safe enough and inspired enough and focused and committed enough to let ourselves heal and realign, and to keep going round in that cycle, because it does, it's so cyclical. You know, I think once one element of healing is done, the next one's there before us. It's certainly been like that for me. I think as I've healed up every sort of separate patch of my life, there's just another little root or little upshoot or whatever that just comes and asks for my attention. So it's not about us getting it perfect or becoming completely healed. It's not about that. It's just about tending to the things that need us most in our lives. So I'm not entirely sure how long we've been going, but it would be lovely now if we just did our meditation. That's 9:20. And we can do this 3 minutes, just 3 minutes. My phone is sticking to this keyboard. And so we'll bring our hands together just to create a bit of warmth between our palms, and bring our thumbs right into our sternum, just our heart center there, our hands into prayer pose. And we'll take a nice deep breath in through the nose and back out through the nose. And again, back in through the nose and out through the nose. And we'll inhale again to begin. So take your thumb and pointer finger into Gyan Mudra and place it on your left knee. Take your right thumb, place it over your right nostril. And we're just going to take a nice deep breath in through the left nostril. And exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. And exhale through the left. And just find your own rhythm here, and we'll do this for 3 minutes. Last few breaths in. Last breath. Okay, and just place both hands on your knees. And just sit quietly in this space that we've created for ourselves. And be mindful of any intentions that you would like to set for this weekend. And we'll bring our hands back into prayer pose and just bring them back to our heart center. And to somebody that you love or to someone who you think needs your love, we can say, may the long time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on. And to yourself, you'll say, may the long time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on. And to the world, we say, may the long time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on. Sat Nam. So this evening I spoke the final blessing just because I wanted you to have a bit of a contrast to the sung version. Sometimes it can just feel a bit more comfortable to speak out these blessings than to sing them. I personally love to sing them because I love to sing, but I know not everyone feels that way, and I think sometimes our voice is so connected to our self-confidence, and this is very true for me. So the fact that I can sing to you really shows how much I've grown and how much more accepting I am of myself. So I tend to relish that and try to really celebrate it and embrace it while I'm here. But I just wanted to say it out so that we could know that both are very welcome and both are beautiful, and the sentiment of the words will always have the same weight and the same meaning. And I also missed out the tuning in at the beginning of the meditation, just to show you that there's no set formula. In Kundalini Yoga, we always start by tuning in with the Om Namo Gurudev Namo, and we do that 3 times, and I personally love to do that. But if you're not so aligned with Kundalini Yoga but just enjoy the alternate nostril breathing and the final blessing, then you can just take the elements that really work for you and that feel comfortable to you and do those, and just stay with that. It's 3 minutes of doing this alternate nostril breathing, which is such a wonderful one for healing because it balances out the body, and it's an incredibly powerful breathing technique for releasing anxiety and stress. It's a really wonderful one to do before sleep as well. And it's a great meditation to lean on in moments of like extreme stress, and it's really good for helping the body balance itself back out. So I'll say good evening and thank you for being here. It's been so lovely to have you. It's getting dark now. You can see my candles. Maybe you could always see them. But I hope you have a lovely weekend and thank you for being here. Hopefully we'll catch up through the week. I'll probably email everyone just to see how we're all doing. And I'll see you again back here on Friday next week for some more talking, some more sharing, for some more meditation. Thanks guys. Bye.